Discover the compelling story of Yugoslavia, a nation built on unity but torn apart by conflict. This in-depth documentary takes you through the fascinating history of this Balkan federation, from its formation after World War I to its collapse in the 1990s, the devastating wars that followed, and its enduring legacy. Journey across the picturesque landscapes of Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Serbia, and North Macedonia as we unravel the complex narratives of this diverse region. Learn about the creation of Yugoslavia, a federation of 6 republics, 4 languages, 3 religions, and 2 alphabets. The impact of World War II resistance, civil war, and the rise of Josip Broz Tito's socialist vision of brotherhood and unity. The challenges of the 1980s, economic collapse, political turmoil, and the rise of nationalism. The Yugoslav wars, ethnic conflicts, atrocities, and NATO's first ever military intervention in Bosnia and Kosovo. The aftermath, the legacy of division, resilience, and the future of the region. With breathtaking visuals, historical insights, and first-hand accounts, this video sheds light on the lessons from Yugoslavia's history and the importance of reconciliation in today's world. Let's explore a region where history continues to shape the present. Watch now. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth historical explorations. Share your thoughts in the comments. How can the lessons of Yugoslavia guide us today? The history of Yugoslavia, its creation, collapse, and aftermath, is a multifaceted tale of ambition, ideology, cultural richness, and tragic conflict. It is a story that reflects both the potential and the perils of diversity within a single state. The events of February 28, 1994, when Captain Robert G. Wright of NATO made history by engaging Bosnian Serb aircraft in a no-fly zone, symbolize a turning point, not just for NATO, but for the international response to the disintegration of Yugoslavia. This moment was born from a series of events deeply rooted in history, geography, and human ambition. This detailed exploration offers a comprehensive understanding of the region's past, the collapse of its federation, the devastating wars that followed, and the lasting consequences. The formation of Yugoslavia, a vision of unity. Yugoslavia, meaning land of the South Slavs, was established after World War I, emerging from the ruins of empires like Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire. Initially called the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, it united 6 republics: Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Serbia, and Macedonia, under a single state. Its diverse population encompassed multiple ethnic groups, 4 major languages, 3 religions: Orthodox Christianity, Catholicism, and Islam, and 2 alphabets, Latin and Cyrillic. While the unification may seem surprising in an age dominated by nationalist aspirations, the South Slavs were driven by shared goals: liberation from foreign domination and the creation of a homeland where Slavic peoples could coexist. Yet, the seeds of future conflict lay in differing visions for governance. While Croats sought federalism, Serbs favored centralization. This tension simmered under the surface, waiting for a catalyst to erupt. World War II, a fractured resistance and civil war. Yugoslavia's internal divisions came to the forefront during World War II when Nazi Germany invaded. The occupation turned into a brutal civil war between 3 main factions. 1. Ustasha Croatian fascists aligned with Nazi Germany, notorious for atrocities against Serbs, Jews, and Roma. The death camp, Jasenovac, became a symbol of their brutality. 2. Chetniks, Serbian royalists who initially resisted occupation but later collaborated with Axis powers to achieve their nationalist agenda. And 3. partisans communist resistance fighters led by Josip Broz Tito, advocating a socialist federation where all ethnicities were equal. Tito's partisans emerged victorious, not only defeating the Axis, but also uniting the country under the promise of brotherhood and unity. This narrative became the foundation of post-war Yugoslavia, glossing over the ethnic strife of the war years in favor of a collective identity. Socialist Yugoslavia, under Tito, a fragile harmony. Josip Broz Tito's Yugoslavia was a socialist experiment like no other. Tito managed to keep the country together by balancing ethnic representation, suppressing nationalism, and crafting a narrative of unity through shared resistance to fascism. Under his leadership, economic growth, Yugoslavia saw rapid industrialization, free healthcare, and education. A consumer society emerged, contrasting with the austerity in Soviet-controlled Eastern Europe. Non-aligned movement Yugoslavia became a leader of the non-aligned movement, forging its own path during the Cold War and maintaining relationships with both the West and the Soviet bloc. Cultural flourishing. Yugoslavia was known for its music, cinema, and literature, which reflected its diverse heritage. Cities like Sarajevo symbolized coexistence, hosting events like the 1984 Winter Olympics. However, Tito's authoritarian rule came at a cost. Political dissent was harshly suppressed, and his death in 1980 left a leadership vacuum that the rotating presidency failed to fill. The 1980s, economic decline and rising nationalism. The 1980s were a turbulent decade for Yugoslavia. Economic challenges, marked by rising unemployment, inflation, and crippling debt, undermined the sense of unity. The International Monetary Fund imposed austerity measures that deepened inequality between the republics. Wealthier regions like Slovenia and Croatia resented subsidizing poorer areas, while Serbia sought greater control over the federation. Simultaneously, the collapse of communism in Eastern Europe and the end of the Cold War removed external pressures that had kept Yugoslavia intact. Leaders like Slobodan Milosevic in Serbia and Franjo Tudjman in Croatia manipulated ethnic grievances for political gain, framing their respective groups as victims of past injustices. India. The breakup and wars of the 1990s. Yugoslavia's dissolution began with Slovenia and Croatia declaring independence in 1991, followed by Bosnia and Herzegovina in 1992. The transitions were anything but peaceful. Slovenia, a short war. Slovenia's independence war lasted just 10 days, as the Yugoslav People's Army withdrew to focus on larger conflicts elsewhere. Croatia ethnic cleansing and siege. Croatia faced fierce resistance from Serbian minority groups, supported by the Yugoslav People's Army. Ethnic cleansing and atrocities occurred on both sides, creating deep scars. Bosnia, the epicenter of tragedy. Bosnia and Herzegovina, with its multi-ethnic population of Bosniaks, Croats and Serbs, became the focal point of the Yugoslav wars. Serbian forces, driven by nationalist ambitions, laid siege to Sarajevo for nearly 4 years, while the massacre of 8,372 Bosniak men and boys in Srebrenica remains a haunting symbol of genocide. The role of NATO intervention and the 1994 engagement. As violence escalated, the international community was criticized for its inaction. NATO, initially hesitant, began enforcing a no-fly zone over Bosnia in 1993. On February 28, 1994, Captain Robert G. Wright made history as NATO's first combat engagement. When warnings to retreat were ignored, NATO forces shot down 4 Bosnian Serb aircraft, signaling a shift toward more active involvement. The turning point came in 1995, when NATO launched Operation Deliberate Force, a bombing campaign targeting Bosnian Serb positions. This intervention, combined with ground offensives by Bosnian and Croatian forces, led to the Dayton Accords, which ended the war but divided Bosnia into ethnically based entities. Kosovo, the final chapter. The late 1990s saw conflict shift to Kosovo, where the majority Albanian population sought independence from Serbia. The Kosovo Liberation Army, or KLA, launched attacks, prompting brutal reprisals by Serbian forces. Reports of massacres, mass rapes, and ethnic cleansing led NATO to intervene once again in 1999. The controversial bombing campaign forced Serbian withdrawal, and Kosovo became a UN protectorate. It declared independence in 2008, though Serbia and several other countries have yet to recognize it. The aftermath. Fragmentation and legacy. The wars of the 1990s resulted in over 140,000 deaths and millions of displaced people. The region remains scarred by ethnic divisions, economic struggles, and political corruption. Each successor state has taken its own path. Slovenia, the most prosperous, now a member of the EU and NATO. Croatia joined the EU in 2013 but grapples with corruption and nationalist rhetoric. Bosnia and Herzegovina. A fragile state divided into two entities, often paralyzed by ethnic politics. Serbia struggles with its past while seeking EU membership. Montenegro and North Macedonia, smaller states with aspirations for stability and integration into European structures. Kosovo, a partially recognized state, still facing challenges of governance and international legitimacy. Lessons and reflections. The story of Yugoslavia is both a cautionary tale and a testament to resilience. It illustrates how economic crises and political manipulation can turn neighbors into enemies. Yet, it also highlights the enduring spirit of its people, many of whom reject the narratives of division imposed by their leaders. Modern Yugoslav states continue to grapple with the legacy of the wars, but they also offer hope. Grassroots movements, cultural exchanges, and a new generation of citizens committed to reconciliation suggest that the dream of unity, though flawed, was not entirely misplaced. As we reflect on Yugoslavia's rise and fall, it becomes clear that peace requires not just the absence of war, but the presence of justice, accountability, and genuine efforts to build bridges across divides. This is the lesson of Yugoslavia, a lesson the world would do well to remember.